Today we're going to look at two shapes designed by Dennis Newberry for the Homer Laughlin China Company. We're in the late 1970s now, so we're going to look at International from 1977, and then we're going to look at a little bit of Reissue Harlequin from 1978. So we'll start by looking at the full assortment for International. And we see it's rather extensive in its assortment. We've got the coffee pot, a sugar and creamer. There are three types of cups. There's the regular cup, there's a coffee cup, and then you have these soup mugs. The covered butter dish comes from Orbit. We have salt and pepper shakers, the casserole. This is probably the most difficult piece of International to find. The utility bowl, the gravy fast stand, and then of course all your flatware. So the flatware is rather distinct in that it has this frame going on the rim. So you've got this beaded edge, and then you've got this verge, raised verge going on. So that's how you can tell International. We'll look at this promotion real quick. This was a promotion that was done by banks. And the way this worked was you would have to deposit, well, no, you would open a checking account or a savings account for $50. And then you could get for free a 4-piece place setting. Then anytime you deposited $25 or more, you would get any of these pieces at a discounted price. So you still had to pay for them. Nothing was free. We see the 4-piece place settings here with the patterns. We've got Country Inn, which is undecorated, just with the double bands. We have a piece we can look at real quick. There's our vegetable bowl with the dark and light brown bands. And then there were two patterns offered, Delicate and Glamour. And we have a Delicate plate we can look at. And we see the full assortment with the prices, the discounted prices. You still had to pay for this, so even though you were depositing money and using their bank. So the coffee pot, we have a coffee pot to show, the Orbit butter dish, and a couple pieces in boxes we can look at real quick. So you could get two coffee mugs for $5.50. So we have our box here, and it's marked 2 coffee mugs. We open it up, and these are your International coffee mugs. And we also have a set of salt and pepper shakers to look at, which I want to show those real quick, because these have the 6 and 7 holes for the salt and the pepper. And you may find salt and pepper shakers in International with S&P. So if you do, those are more than likely going to be from Best China, the hotelware, because the International shakers were picked up, made in the vitrified hotelware body, and given this S&P decoration. I'm sorry, the S&P holes, and you can find them in contemporary Fiesta glazes as well, like periwinkle and rose. So we'll put these away. So International comes at a time when there's this drop in Japanese imports, and there becomes this great demand for domesticated made dinnerware. So you see a lot of these patterns, particularly in Sears catalogs. We're going to look at one real quick. This is from, let's see, 1981, the spring-summer of 1981 for Sears. And we see the International shape in some solid colors. There's also brown stripe, blue stripe, and green stripe. So here's our blue International sugar and creamer. There's the brown stripe. There's blue stripe. There's also an apricot stripe that was made for Sears, though it's not in this advertisement. And just real quick, there's the hearthside shape. Still the ever-popular hearthside shape going on. This is an advertisement from an Alden's Christmas 1980 catalog, and it shows the International shape being used. And this is Summit Ironstone, and it's a yellow and brown stripe going on. One thing I wanted to point out real quick was this Challenger shape sugar and creamer sets. We've got the brown and the blue. This was a special spatter line that was made for Sears. I don't think I have a date on this one. So this is late 1970s. And we see the International flatware being used along with a Challenger cup and sugar and creamer. So you see this mixing of Challenger and International, particularly with these spatter designs. So real quick, we'll look at a couple patterns. That one in the back, that's Meadow Sweet. That was made for Sears. There's a couple that have this unusual glaze on glaze technique we talked a little bit about in the Challenger video, where you have these raised enamel effects going on to highlight certain aspects of the pattern. In the back is School Days. There's Blue Delft. And this one is, let me think for a second, Pecking. That was made for Sears as well. This is an experimental deep rose glaze that was made on International but didn't go in production. And one thing I wanted to show with this is the Cavalier shape, but it's from 1985. And when you get to 1985, you're looking at the end of semi-vitreous made dinnerware. Everything after 1985 that is new is going to be vitrified hotelware body, including contemporary Fiesta. So this is one of the last patterns made in semi-vitreous wares, and we see the same string design on the International Sugar and Creamer with this red stripe on it, or red trim. Very 1980s, this black, white, and red coloring. International that's unglazed was sold as Simplicity. Joe Cunningham shows that in one of her books. We have a Simplicity coffee pot. Another pattern, let's see, this one is called Moss Rose, another Sears offering. And this one is, let's see, this one's Rings and Dots. And I wanted to show this one because, again, we have this USA marking. As we saw in the Challenger video, Dennis Newberry put a lot of USA markings on hollowware. And we have a Gravy Fast Stand from the International shape. This is the Pacific Flyway designs. So it's an unusual purplish type speckled glaze with these ducks on it. Mallards, I believe. So that's a little bit about the International shape. From 1977, this was produced well into the 1980s. One of the last major shapes for Homer Laughlin. We're going to look at a couple more in the next video, Table Fare and Parliament. But this is pretty much the last extensive assortment that Homer Laughlin makes in semi-vitreous ware. So now we'll look at Harlequin from 1978. So this was made for Woolworths for their 100th anniversary. And we have a brochure here showing the full assortment in the 4 colors, green, coral, yellow, and turquoise. And it's pretty limited. We've got the dinner plate, 7-inch plate, soup cereals, teacup saucer, sugar creamer, a vegetable bowl, which is the round nappy, and a new piece, the chop plate. So real quick, I want to look at this green color because this causes some confusion sometimes. This is a very darker version of medium green. Some people call it like a milky green. Most people call it reissue green. I have a medium green teacup to compare, which has a much richer glaze than the milky reissue green. So this is medium green from 1960s, and your reissue green. In the back we have the chop plate, which you will almost always find in coral, though you can find yellow examples. Turquoise and yellow are very similar to the old turquoise and yellow that was used in Harlequin. The creamers will be turquoise, the sugar bowls will be yellow. One major difference with the sugar is that the handles and finial were made as part of the mold, so there was no step of having to apply them by hand. And the vegetable bowl. You will almost always find those in that milky reissue green, but we have one here in coral. And you can also find them in yellow, but most of the time they're going to be in this green color. Pretty common line, very easy to find. You can even find it in its original boxes. And then we have the brochure that talks about the 100th anniversary and the reissue of Harlequin. So yeah, this was made about 1982, 1983. And I think that's going to be it for Harlequin and International. As I said, next time we'll look at Table Fare and Parliament. Those are the last 2 major shapes that Dennis Newberry makes, Table Fare and Parliament. So that we'll be wrapping this up pretty soon. So that's it.